Hi people of YouTube. I'm sorry about this pause. I feel so stupid. Because I'm talking to a phone. Which is technically to my viewers. Hate my life. Anyway, yeah, welcome back. No doubt you might have seen my previous video. If not, fuck you. Anyways. Welcome. I am reacting to My Little Dashie 2. Who Am I? The movie. If you guys remembered, I reacted to My Little Dashie, the first one. It was alright. I loved it. And, yeah. So now we're gonna see what part 2 looks like. It's not by the original creator, so... yeah, but the original creator, his name is StormFX3. Don't know his real name, but you know. He seen his old videos, and he decided to maybe try to create part 2, depending on if you would want that. But for now, let's react to this My Little Dashie 2, because why not? Also, I might be uploading a bit more, a little more of MLP content. Like this is technically not originally MLP content. This is like MLP related content. But I might start making some MLP content, because why not? Without further ado, let's get to this reaction. I like the music. Devin Exion, Anik Thompson, Kiowa Ukami, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Mackenzie Bryant, Bladed Angel Ring, Alex Griffin. Now I know these aren't real names. Devin Exion. Who am I? Also, I'm apparently the first reactor to react to this on YouTube.
Where am I? I looked around and examined my surroundings. That place was way too bright and colorful to be reality. The trees are lime green and the sky was as light blue as a baby's pajamas. The only thing breaking the cartoony-like environment was the black circle underneath me. What is this? I thought for a moment. It must have something to do with my arrival to this place. The black circle looked like the crime scene of a lightning strike and was about 4 feet in diameter. I kneeled down and touched it. I could feel on the surface that it used to be normal dirt before it got scorched by some kind of intense energy. Now, it felt like coal. I rose back up and I was right. It did have something to do with how I got here. But that I did not find out until later. Far later. Ow! After several quick pinches and tests, I had confirmed that this was not a dream. Well, not a normal dream, in that case. My theories had led me to believe that I am either in an alternative dimension, the future, on another planet, or I'm in some sort of coma state. The so-called lightning strike that must have brought me here had given me a memory loss. I could not remember anything about my past, not even my own name. All I knew was that I am a human, that I come from
Don't mind him, he's my brother.
And that was pretty much it. All of my other memories were blurry. It was as if they were floating around in my mind, in arm's reach. But yet I couldn't find them.
I'm back. Hi, I'm back. Also, sorry if you're hearing anything else in the background. It's just not my problem.
The force or strength to grab them. For most of the memories, it was hard to tell if they were even true or not. I took a moment to redeem as much information as I could, but an hour later, my situation had not changed. I am human, and I am from Earth, where several other humans also live in some sort of society. Oh, and yeah, for some reason, I had no problems with speaking English. To make sure of this, I began whispering, I am human, and I am from Earth. I felt the frustration taken over me. I am human, and I am from Earth. Now I was screaming from the top of my lungs. I am human, and I am from Earth, but I don't know my own freaking name, nor do I have any clue about my past, present, or future.
I like this guy. He's
All I
a great
wanted was
voice
to rest
actor.
and try to
or
solve
something.
this cruel riddle spawned in my mind by whatever force that had brought me here to this ridiculously colorful place. But no, now it was the time to act. My amnesia had not given any sign of quitting, and sitting down on the ground definitely wasn't going to help it. If I had to explore. If God put me in this place, he must have done it for a reason. And
That's a
that
trick
reason
question.
was not
There
going
is
to
no
land
God.
on my nose. I had to find it. I shook my legs and arms to warn
It's
them
not a
about the
trick
long
question.
walk
It's a
that was
simple
about to
question.
start.
There is no
I
God.
took one last
No.
look around to make sure that there were no clues left behind surrounding
Simple
what the
question.
hell happened
Simple
here.
answer.
Of course, other than the scorched circle, there were none. I had just started to walk when I noticed something. In the distance, next to a puke green bush, I saw what looked to be a pair of eyes. But they were huge, and possibly not come from any human. The purple iris
Can't
surrounding
see
the giant
really
black
much.
and shining pupils was glued to my mind. For a second,
It's
my
dark
eyes
eyes.
connected. I looked into the creature's eyes, and my body was filled with a warm, fuzzy feeling that made me feel like everything was alright. I stepped back on a stick, and as it made a large cracking noise, I snapped back to reality, or whatever place I was currently visiting. My mouth flung open and I yelled, "Hey! You have to help me! Hey!" The eye contact broke, and the purple eyes disappeared into the shadows. I could hear the sound of feet running away. Wait, scratch that. That was definitely not the sound of human feet.
That was
It was
whose?
louder and sounded like coconuts being slammed together. It sounded almost like a horse.
Must be one of the main
Is this
six.
still Earth? I started to run a few feet, but my legs were still unsteady since my appearance here, and the creature was much faster. Soon the cloppity-clop-like noise was all out of reach, and the sound was gone. All I could do was to keep walking in that direction and debunk theories left and right, but I could still not get those eyes out of my mind. Those purple eyes. At least now I had a memory that I could be 100% sure happened. Or did it?
Also, guys, I'm sorry
I
if
started to
my
study my memories once again, comparing those
cam,
from Earth and the one that
square
was much clearer
cam
as my own
thingy
eyes had just
is in the
whispered
way of the
witnessing.
video.
I apparently knew what a
I
force
want
was,
people to look
so I
as
studied
close
that
to
a
the
bit
video
further.
as they can,
Maybe
because
I had to
from my experience,
my
or
memories
from
for
anyone's
myself
experience,
to be
and
able
pretty
to
much,
remember them.
I'm pretty sure everyone will
But all
most
of my
likely want to
memories
see the
from Earth
video
blurred.
than the reaction,
They even
or else
happened?
they
Or was that a
will have
dream?
wanted to
And
watch
this is
the
reality?
original video instead.
The only
But
real connection between
so
Earth
so.
and this place,
I want you
my
guys to
memories,
more likely
was
see
now
the video
worse.
than the actual
Or
reaction.
at least
But
the sound
that's why I
of
made
horse
the
running.
video
I was lost.
bigger.
That was for sure. I had no idea where I
me
was.
like
And now I
literally
was in an
like
unknown place
this
within an even larger
small.
unknown place. This was also confusing. I thought for sure I was going to
If you
lose
reach
my
up to this
mind.
part of the video, then please write down in the comments
I
below.
saw the light.
Would you prefer this cam, or want me to make, or want me to put like
This felt too
the
real to the
video
afterlife.
like
The light I saw was
smaller
far in the
and in the
distance.
corner,
Could
or
have been the end
keep
of
this
so-called
cam?
forest. I started to run again. This time, I was faster compared to my poor chase earlier, which meant that I had recovered at least a little bit. Just as I thought I had been through a complete recovery, my disoriented coordination got the best of me, and I tripped into the grass.
I love his details
The
to
energy of my
everything he
speed
says
tumbled
and
around
every
for
single
about 20
thing.
feet
It's like
before
he's
I
reading
finally
off a
stopped
book.
inside of a bush. I took a moment to look for any injuries, but I was feeling fine.
I think he is.
My legs, clear. My hands, a bit dirty, but clear. My stomach, clear. My head, dizzy, but no injuries detected. Clear. I allowed myself to get up, but now the light was gone. I turned around 360 degrees, but for nothing. All I saw was trees, trees, and even more trees. This world was playing with me. I was nothing but a rag doll in their sadistic play with life and death. So far, I must have been playing my cards right, since I was still alive. I looked back and saw my skid marks that marked which direction I had come from. I then turned 180 degrees in an attempt to pinpoint towards where I was running in the first place, to where I had seen the light. All there was a big tree. A very big tree, to be exact. It covered up a large portion of my view, so I took a few steps to walk around it. The light was there. It had been there the whole time, while that stupid giant tree had been making me worried about my consciousness again. A good choice would be to climb it to get a better view, but I was in no good physical condition to perform that task, so I started walking towards my goal, which was the light that now grew larger. As I came closer, the light expanded. What had only been a white dot before was now a large light beam covering my eyesight from left to right.
Don't go to the light.
As the size
Please don't go into the light.
The white light slowly changed into more details.
Oh!
I could now see green grass, much lighter than the moss from this tight forest. As I took my first step onto the light,
I just thought of something, referencing this to real life or pretty much anything.
I looked at that direction and I saw a brown dirt road.
People say don't go to the light.
My new goal to reach.
And if you go to the light, you escape reality, and basically you die. It's kind of like that. You escape the forest, escape the darkness, creepiness, into this world. Don't know what I'm saying.
Naturally, they're man-made.
Thoughts.
That means that there must be intelligent life in this world. Maybe humans.
Intellectual life.
Purple-eyed creatures. But they could also just be mutated horses. The fact that the creature ran away from me doesn't necessarily give it human characteristics. It could have just been animal instincts. My feet were now walking on the dirt road. My thoughts had carried me away as I didn't even notice my arrival to the road. But I didn't complain, and I kept walking. I was feeling a lot better now, but I didn't want to run because of the simple fact that I did not trust this place. Those purple eyes may have looked friendly and given me that pleasant, warm feeling, but I couldn't just assume it to be a friend. After all, I didn't know anything about the creature apart from those.
You can't really know anything, really, if you're experiencing new things or anything.
It might have a stinger, razor-sharp teeth, claws, or maybe all of the above. That was when I saw the second man-made object. A few hundred feet away, I saw the back of the sign. I quickly ran up to the sign and walked around to see what was on the front of it. There it said, with a clear black text on the wooden sign, "The Everfree Forest, 1 mile." There it was. A perfect display of the English language using the alphabet invented by humans, such as myself. That debunked all theories of me being on a different planet. That just left me with the options, an alternative dimension, the future, or me being...
Thing is, people assume people from other planets could speak different languages. Truth is, what if people from other planets speak the same language as us? English, Arabic, anything like that. Imagine there's the exact same Earth, but in another galaxy or something. I don't know. Debunking theories. I'm having theories here. Just placing my theories.
I took a moment to donate myself a well-earned slap straight to the face. I was being an idiot. Of course this place has humans. I can't possibly be the only human here. I was thinking. That used to be my theory. Used to be. Right about 22 minutes later, I discovered man-made item number 3.
Two man-made items. More like man/woman-made items.
On this giant, mysterious cave.
I'm right.
It was a town, a village. It was right there. It could not be a hallucination. It was just too real. Whatever creature that made that sign must live somewhere in that village. Every single instinct in my body told me to scream for help and run into the village like a crazy fool. But my body couldn't find the courage to do so.
Even if it could, why would you do that? That would make everyone fear you.
Buildings, also colorful, looked different. They awoke my memories of buildings on Earth, but not skyscrapers or any regular townhouses. These reminded me of old buildings from the 18th century from books that I've read.
Yeah. Why do Tony build like that?
That was a new memory. As I entered the old village, I noticed how dead it really was. Either the inhabitants are avoiding me, or it's abandoned. My mind would easily have selected the last option, if it weren't for one detail. Far over, in the distance, was a lantern hanging up 10 feet on the wall of one of the buildings. The fuse was still glowing.
I don't see it glowing,
Someone
but
was
still,
here,
whatever.
at least today. Is it because of me? But I didn't arrive here until this morning. How could they, in that case, have evacuated so fast? My
That
thoughts
horse
were
which
running
sold
by.
you?
Corrected. I did not redeem consciousness until this morning. I might have been here for days, or my entire life. What do I know? I bet it has something to do with that purple-eyed creature. But why would they evacuate for the simple reason of me showing up? It doesn't make sense. They must be hiding in their homes. I randomly picked a building and started to knock on its door. No response, of course. I was being stupid. If they were hiding from me, why would they respond? A smart thing to do would be to say something such as, "I am friendly," or "I come in peace." But I just couldn't find the courage to say anything. I was too nervous. I may have a memory loss, but I've never by far been this nervous. Everything there was strange. I couldn't trust anything. Any time now a monster could show up and attack me from nowhere. Was my excuse. I was a pretty good guess. It was around house number 7
You're
that
not
I
in
heard
the
a noise.
noise. Well, you...
Something
Wait.
being knocked over on my far right. I looked, and I saw.
Oh, Twilight
I
Sparkle.
recognized them anywhere.
Twilight
anytime.
Sparkle,
There
tiny.
they were,
Okay.
staring at me for the second time. Those purple eyes.
Oh, they're purple.
The
That is
feeling of being
Twilight.
safe and comfortable
Aww.
showered over me again.
Pretty much ponies
This
make
time
you feel like that.
was an entire head
From
peeking
MLP.
forward from behind the corner of the building. Was it the same pair of eyes from before? Yes. There was no doubt in my mind. I could see it in her eyes. Her personality. Magic.
Thing is, all ponies
I
from
had been doubting the magic
all
part
the
the whole
ponies from
time
all the
since seeing her for the
dimensions,
first time. But seeing
transdimensional,
her
with trans
personality in her eyes
dimensions.
one
I
more
don't know.
time.
I don't really know science or
This was her.
anything, but
She had dark
I have
purple hair
theories.
with 2 streaks of different lighter tones of purple in it as well. No matter if it was dyed on her or she was born with it, it looked good on her.
oh, I did.
She had yet another shade of purple skin in her face and neck. All of her was a rainbow of different shades of purple.
Oh, that's
Was it
true.
she?
She's like a very powerful
I
pony.
didn't know. But her personality shouted female, so it was my assumption. Also,
Yeah, that is the best way to
galloping sounds
assume.
her feet made while running earlier today explained themselves. I was staring at some sort
Okay.
of mutated pony's head. "Hey, it's you!"
Okay.
I shouted. The purple so-called pony head disappeared behind the corner, and the also familiar galloping sounds came over my ears once more. This time, she was not going to get away that easily. "Hey, wait!" I was surprised how fast I could run compared to before. I had regained my strength and my agility almost to a complete recovery. In the matter of seconds, I had turned the corner in which I saw the creature's head peek out, then disappear. I could hear the galloping footsteps but the distance between us grew larger.
She wants.
Confirmed that the pony.
I love hoof steps more than footsteps. Hoof steps sound so much more satisfying and more comforting to hear. Footsteps,
behind and around buildings. My legs were under hard pressure too.
Close to favorite Western boots, the cowboy boots with the spurs. It's like
My legs and my exhausted chest
that's like my
reminded
second
me that
favorite
I'm still
sound
alive
of
and that I
footsteps.
needed to rest. I was seconds away from giving up the chase when the sound stopped. It did not fade out as if the pony slowly got more air between us. No, it just stopped. I took the opportunity and stopped as well to catch my breath and collect my thoughts together. I had learned about myself that I have astonishingly great stamina, speed, and endurance.
True.
This
That's
chase was
Twilight
long as I
Zone.
looked around and
Well,
finally realized that I
was.
was no longer in the center of the village where buildings were lined up next to each other. No, the wild chase had led me through parks, across meadows and lawns. Now I found myself in an open area which, compared to the center of this town, the distance between the buildings were a lot greater. I had almost no idea to where the creature went, since the distance between us was just big enough for me to not see which building she had disappeared inside. Because other than a few buildings in this area, there was no other place to hide. Since I had to start somewhere, I chose the building closest to me. A giant tree with
It's an
windows in the
obvious
front.
place, really. I
If this
mean,
was on Earth, I would have been flabbergasted
nowhere
by that
else,
astonishing
really.
creation
So,
design. But the cartooning setting this world provided had left me used to seeing unbelievable things. The tree house looked like a library, with books lined up in the windows and a small sign in front of the house with a book on it. If the creatures live in these buildings, which I was now led to believe, the myth about having humans in this village would be pretty much dead by now. I walked past the wooden sign with the book on it and approached the door. Making the same stupid mistake as before, I knocked on the door as if someone running away from me would happily fling open the door with a smile. Well, as expected, no one answered. I knocked one more time. Still no reply. I couldn't help the feeling of being stared at from the windows, but when I looked, no one was there. I looked at the windows one more time before I finally decided to move on to the next house.
that is a
I
creepy
turned around
feeling
and
to
started
have.
to walk away from the so-called library. I had only taken a few steps on my way when the unbelievable occurred. The door behind me flew open, and instead of a gentle greeting, I was met with two hooves charging me from behind. One of the hooves wrapped itself around my neck, and the other one covered up my chin and mouth. My scream was transformed into a muffled, pathetic squeak by the hoof covering the lower half of my face. I could only watch as the great force of the purple hooves pulled me inside the library against my will.
And then he was never heard of again.
My body landed on the hard wooden floor with a thud. My head got a pretty good hit from the push too, and I was less confused and feeling dizzy. I could see as the creature quickly slammed the door shut, locked it, and then looked over at me.
Twilight!
In an attempt to faster process what was going on.
Hello,
As I started
Twilight
to get up,
Sparkle.
I was
What do
charged
you
at by
want?
the purple creature
Oh
once
yeah,
more.
human stuff.
I had no match against the weight of the at least 300-pound heavy creature. It was a quick victory as she lifted me
Oh,
back
I
down to the
wouldn't
floor.
give to go
With
to
the help of her
the world
hooves,
of
she held me down
Equestria.
in a firm
Holy
and steady
shit,
grip.
I would.
Before I could say anything in my defense, she interrupted me.
No one can hear you, so there's no point in screaming.
You can.
She spoke.
It wasn't gonna scream
She couldn't
anyway
talk.
because no one answered his door.
I was stunned as my brain couldn't produce a single word. The English dictionary was simply not enough to describe what was happening before my very eyes. She looked at me for a few seconds, waiting for a response, but then spoke again.
How much do you remember?
She asked me,
Straight with the
but I
memory.
simply wasn't listening. My brain was still in process mode, trying to compress the happenings in this very library. I could see the bookshelves being lined up along the walls inside this giant tree, and even
She asked you a question, and you're looking
on the
at
second floor.
books.
This must have been where she
Nuts.
lives.
Okay.
Tell me how much you remember.
She was now almost
Oh,
shouting.
that face.
My eyes moved on to my attacker.
Why
This was
does that
the
look
first
like
time
this
I could
harsh
take a good
one?
look at her entire body. Her entire body was the same shade of purple as her face, and her tail's colors perfectly matched those from her mane.
Oh, so
Yes,
beautiful.
indeed. This was a pony.
She looks less powerful than she was from a show
She
for
also
some
had a
reason.
tattoo on her
I
flank
feel
in
like.
the shape of a sparkle. Or at least it looked like a tattoo.
It's just a feeling.
Keeping the old houses in mind, I didn't imagine them having modern tattooing tools. She was now finally able to get my attention as she now shook my
Oh,
body while
face.
yelling.
Listen, I know you can speak and I've heard you do it before. Do not try any tricks with me. And answer my question. How much do you remember?
She sounds
I
intellectual.
finally gathered my senses together and gave her the response she had been waiting for.
Unless that's not the right word. Intelligent?
You-
She sounds intelligent.
You can
Yes!
speak?
Intelligent! Oh fuck, I'm not that
Her eyes
intelligent.
suddenly looked
I'm
far
retarded
away
as
as
hell.
I shook my head in response. The only part of my body I could move under the weight of this beast. She looked satisfied with her answer, but was still holding me down.
How much do you remember of this place exactly?
Have I been here before? I can honestly not remember anything from this place. It's also colorful. All I can remember is key items such as trees, buildings. I looked over to the side. Books, furniture, etc. I don't remember you. Only items from Earth, which is where I come from. Because I do, right? Earth does exist, doesn't it? The purple pony stepped off of me finally and reached out a hoof to help me get up.
Yes, and don't worry, I'll do all I can to help you get there again, but you have to promise me not to show yourself to anyone. They would not be too happy about seeing such a strange character around.
Oh, my heart.
Do we have a deal?
I just love the look of her.
I got up and agreed to the offer.
Fire sparkle.
I normally would just run for my life, but it was her eyes again.
Yeah, her eyes. My heart, you make a convincing Twilight.
So, is there more of your kind here?
Don't know.
Oh, please. Call us ponies. I mean, that's what we are. How rude of me. I'm Twilight Sparkle. And you are?
Sparkle?
How dare they?
Her
Oh,
tattoo.
kill me. I want to die
So
right
that's
now.
why she has it. I don't know. I don't remember. I scratched my head to show her that I was confused.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that. You don't go worry now. I will do all I can to help you remember.
How did she know about my memory loss?
That part was actually itching.
Maybe she overheard my scream in the forest. But why doesn't she want anyone else to know about my existence? Something was not right there, and I could almost bet that she had something to do with how I got there. My arms and legs were aching from the charge and being under such powerful pressure for so long, so I took a seat on the floor.
I wonder how that looked like.
You must be very tired. You need to sleep. You can borrow my bed.
She led me up the staircase and showed me to the bed. She even helped tucking me in. Kindness exploded inside me, and I felt like I could live like this forever.
Oh my
For the rest of
heart.
my life. But I just could not give up the feeling that something was wrong.
MLP made me realize I hate reality. Well, it's not MLP that made me realize that. I already realized that I hated reality. I hated reality so much.
Warned them.
MLP, FIM,
In that case,
MLP,
why didn't you just
that
tell me that?
is what I love.
Why?
That kind of kindness, holy shit. Sure, kids get that kindness from their parents, but
My muscles,
shit,
brain,
from other
took a
people,
well-earned
oh
break,
my lord.
and I fell asleep.
I know I've heard less, I know I've not heard
Kindness
many
in
of
her eyes
her
being the last
words,
thing I saw
still.
as I fell asleep must
Oh,
have really
there's
affected
kindness.
me.
I
Since
want to
had
go into
wonderful
this one. I
dreams
want to
that
go
night.
to
They
Equestria,
involved
just
everything
to,
from running across the
just to
flowery
me
meadows
everything, just to
to
do
her
everything.
saving
I
my
want to
life
live in
countless times from
Equestria.
really scary
Screw
creatures.
reality,
Well, as
fancy's
scary as
where
they
it's
can
at.
get based on the
Don't
assumption
care
of
if
what other
reality's
creatures live in this
reality,
world.
the fancy is just a
As I
fantasy.
could slowly feel my
Screw
body
it,
parts and
fancy's
the
my
wonderful
reality.
soft bed sheets
Reality
below me,
is my hell.
I started to wake up. From my dreams of paradise, it was a simple hello that brought me
Hello?
back to reality. The voice sounded
Is
almost like a
this-
10-year-old
Are
boy,
you here?
not even close to the soft female
Yes,
voice of
miss.
Twilight. I made
No, it's not you. I know it
noise
is.
as I slowly opened my
My
eyes to find
cousin,
out who
he
it could
is
be.
overweight.
The realization
You
that
are
I'm
just
alive
a weird old
must
man
have really
with
given
a
this
beard who
person
can
a shock,
resurrect from the
as the
dead.
first thing my eyes saw was a small purple and green creature
it.
jumping back a few feet and almost
Don't
tumbling
know what I'm
over.
talking about.
As my memory slowly came back of what happened yesterday, Twilight's gentle voice echoed in my head.
You have to promise me not to show yourself to anyone.
Oh, that's a convincing
Did this
flashback
weird
thingy.
mutated
Holy shit.
lizard count? He had purple skin, just like Twilight, yellow belly, and green spikes protruding out on his back, similar to...
I know it's happening right now, but I'm sorry
The
if
words dinosaur,
I'm
dragon,
talking,
and
I'm
lizard came
over...
out to me. I was
The
worried about
voice
breaking my promise
is
to Twilight.
louder than him
needed to say
talking.
something.
And if you guys wanted to hear him talk, I'm sorry about that. It's just
I am...
reactions and all.
was all of that my rusty, tired throat could produce. Don't worry. I am Twilight's right hand and best friend, Spike.
It's easy for you guys to find the video. Literally just type on YouTube the name of the... Literally just type on YouTube, My Little Dashie 2, Who Am I, the movie. Literally, just right
So
there.
don't try any funny tricks. I can breathe fire.
I can breathe fire, but the fire just delivers letters. I wonder what happens if I breathe my fire on you. Could I send you to Princess Celestia? Or would you just burn?
He pointed towards a small wooden table in the corner next to the
Let's try!
On top of it
Then
were
a
a few
picture in the
letters
background
with
shows
ink.
burning house.
I did as told, but
Oh,
I couldn't help
literally,
but
if I
take a
can
sneak
edit
peek
that,
to have a
I
look at
would.
you. What are you exactly?
Oh,
I looked at him for a few seconds, deciding in my mind if he was trustworthy or not. Things have been so crazy lately since I got here, and here comes possibly the world's smallest dinosaur to top it off. I
he
decided
does
that I
look
would
like a
just have to trust
dinosaur.
him.
Holy
He was
shit,
missing
without the
warm
wings,
sparkle in
he's
his
basically a
eyes. Twilight
dinosaur.
had had that made
Well,
me trust her.
that
But
breathes
if she can trust
fire.
Spike to live with her, I will just have to
No,
trust him for now.
that would mean
and
it's
take
like a
the consequences,
dragon,
if there
but
are any.
without wings. Holy shit, never
I
mind.
am human from the Earth.
From
I have no
Earth.
idea where Earth is from this point, and I have absolutely no idea of who I am or why I'm here. Humans on Earth? I've heard of that before. Yeah. It was just a few days ago that Twilight told me about who... He quickly bit his lip, and just for good measure, covered up his mouth as well. This was definitely something I was not supposed to know about.
Wow.
I raised my eyebrows to his statement and prepared my response. Please, continue.
I love that.
Did she
With
tell
his
you?
eyebrow raised like,
I was
please.
not really a big fan of the
continue.
secrecy going on, and I wanted my answers.
Yeah.
It was nothing, really. She read about it in a book or something. I don't really remember. Just after that, I discovered how lightning fast reactions I really have. The door downstairs creaked open, and afraid of being
Thanks,
seen,
door.
I
He was
jumped
about to get his answers by
behind the bed
probably
and pulled the
threatening
bedsheets on
Spike.
top of me for
Probably
good measure.
grabbing a knife and
Spike
be like
seemed
this.
very satisfied with the new and appropriate
Where
distraction.
do I don't know what the fuck I'm
Twilight
trying to
is
say.
back. He turned around and discovered me taking cover behind
What were you
the
about
bed
to
as if
say?
a boogeyman had just broken in. What the heck are you doing? Twilight put down some things on the table, which I assumed to be groceries, and turned to Spike with a worried expression.
Oh, groceries, I can imagine that.
He's
Oh.
right here. He pulled off my ghostly bedsheet disguise. I swear I didn't do anything to him. I was feeling embarrassed about my quick maneuver as I rose up.
Like Twilight's
Now
the
standing
mother
behind
of
a
2 adopted
highly messed up
children.
bed, without bed sheets on it. I thought you were someone else, since this is a public library and all.
She never mentions. Wait,
It's
yeah.
okay. I'm glad you took such precautions for the sake of our promise. Myself, I bought some books from the bookshop about more complicated
Yeah,
teleportation spells.
this is a
I'm
public
studying to find
library.
the way
Yeah,
to
she
get back
lives
here as
there.
quick as possible.
She reached
Yeah,
down a
when
bag
she
and
was in
grabbed some
Equestria
bedsheets.
Girls.
Meanwhile, Barley's
She
her friend
lived
of
in the
mine.
library.
We'd stay here until I found a way. Spike, will you
Holy
go and
shit,
bed the
is
sheets on
that
an
how
extra
much,
mattress?
is that how much
Yes, ma'am.
books she's obsessed with?
Spike got up, grabbed the bed sheets, and got to work on his new task.
I see you met my assistant Spike. He's a baby dragon.
Scratch, giant lizard, and miniature dinosaur.
Yep, it's a baby,
Baby
dragon.
dragon, it is.
Did you have sweet dreams?
Actually, yes. But hang on for a second. You said spells?
Yes, I perform magic.
It's kind of obvious with the horn.
The word echoed in my mind for a second. Her eyes yelled it, but I wouldn't believe it. She can perform magic. She knows about teleportation spells. She was the first to notice me. She spied on me. She told me
Okay,
not to
this
tell
turns
anyone
from
else
a
about
happy
the
conversation to a
situation.
deep
She knows more
thought.
about me than myself, it seems.
Deep thinking, holy shit.
But there was not a single doubt in my mind. She brought me here.
Yep. She
It's
brought me
some
into
way
this
or
world.
another.
I came out of her
She
vagina.
must have brought me
Just
here
an
for a
ugly,
reason,
ugly
right?
creature.
But
They
why
didn't know
would she
what I
in that
was,
case work
so they decided
hard
to call me a
to find a way for me
human.
to get back as quick as possible?
Definition, hairless ape.
I decided not to accuse her of anything just yet, since I did not have enough facts or answers to confront her in that way. Also, she said she was going to help me get back home,
Yeah.
and that's really everything I could ask for.
Why
So
would you ask to
hopefully
go
I can
back
trust
to
her.
this boring planet Earth? Holy shit. Everything here is
This fight
boring.
was quickly finished with this mission,
Everything.
and while Twilight kept
Well,
reading
except for
books, he and I
riots
sat down
and
discussed my
gunshots,
questions about this world. He told me a lot
gangs,
of
streets.
things. It
Well,
was
no,
the
that's pretty much boring. 'Cause it's an everyday thing. You get used
that I
to
had come
that.
from, but it did not surprise
Some
me that
is
I did.
traumatizing, and you
Apparently,
cannot get
the
used to
Everfree
it.
Forest is the home
Still,
of many
happens
creatures,
everywhere.
and he
So,
was also
fuck
surprised
this
that I had
world.
not seen any
Fuck it
monsters
all
on my
to
way out.
hell. If
He
hell's
also told me
real,
that the
if
main
heaven's
population
real,
here was
don't know what is real and
Hawaiians,
what is not.
similar to
Screw
humans on
planet
Earth.
Earth, it sucks.
This place country.
Well, it's not planet Earth I blame.
Whatever.
It's people.
Was named
Screw this society.
Equestria,
Screw
with the
life.
Princess
Equestria.
being
Hope
the
I come
ruler
to you one
and
day.
living in Canterlot, the capital city, I assumed. Soon, my mind was filled with facts about this place. I have now been imprisoned in Twilight's library for 3 days. She treats me like a guest, giving me dinner, making my bed, and literally, she wasn't lying about studying hard to find a way to get back.
I can't imagine what's life
But
like living
I
with
was not allowed
Twilight.
to leave.
Holy
That
shit.
was
Well,
the
actually living in
condition.
Equestria.
I was really curious about this town.
In case if you lot
going
aren't
through my
caught
memories
up,
of running across the village of Ponyville
favorite
3 days
pony
earlier
is
to remember
Applejack.
every detail. But my loyalty was just too big for any escape.
The rest I'm not gonna
But
say because
honestly, it
I'm
would
not
be
even
pretty easy
sure
for me to
really.
escape. It was not like as if I had chains
Applejack was
holding me
the
to a wall. When Twilight was home, she never locked the door, and I would easily be able to sneak out during one of her studying sessions. Fighting boredom was not a big problem, actually. When I was not talking to Twilight or Spike, hearing their interesting stories about this place, I was reading books and more books. The advantage of living in a library. I read everything I got my hands on. I learned about the elements of harmony, how Equestria was founded.
Wow, at least he's got the knowledge of
Yeah,
Equestria now,
everything, pretty
so
much.
technically it's like
During these 3
from
days,
Earth
I
and
had plowed
from
through
Equestria,
about 10
except the fact
books.
that he does not know the history of the
That day
of Earth
was the
anymore.
first day I was left home alone in this library.
Yes,
Proof of
because
how
he
much
had lost
Twilight
his
really
cats.
trusted me.
I'm trying to say.
And I screwed it up. Pretty badly.
Screwed up your promise, man. Too bad.
Twilight had left to go to the Everfree Forest to gather some ingredients, and Spike had to come with her since he is a good digger. I didn't really imagine Twilight getting her hooves dirty anyway.
What? No, that's
I left early
rarely.
in the morning
Rarely
so
we
they
want to
would
get
have
her
lots
roots
of
dirty.
time. I
Twilight?
swore to
Sure,
stay
why
and
not?
not to be seen by anyone else, no matter what. I broke both of those promises that day. I was reading about spells written by Starswell the Bearded when the knocking came. A very light and optimistic voice was heard behind that creaky door.
Hello? Twilight? You've been so mysterious and spooky lately. I just had to check what's going on. Are you there?
She knocked again.
Not really a convincing pinky sound, like
I was
pinky
waiting
pie
for her to
voice,
leave,
but
but she didn't. It was like she had no
usually
common
not
sense about someone not being
everyone
home.
can nail like
I was just standing there looking at the
the
door.
main sex's
And even
voices.
after hearing no response for a while,
Celebrity
she was
voices.
still there. And I felt my fear turning into anger as
You're
I
an
could not
idiot,
help but
wow.
shouting,
First knock on
"She's not
doors,
here!"
two thinking about
My eyes
becoming
grew
like a
twice the size as
maniac.
I had realized what I had just
Now
done.
this yelling
Not
she's
only
not
does the
here.
person know about my presence,
Boy.
but she will never leave now that there's a strange creature inside her friend's home.
Yep, and
I
you
was left
fucked.
just standing there,
Big
frozen,
time.
waiting for the damage I had caused to reveal itself.
Huh? That isn't Twilight. Who's in there?
The knocking came back,
Boy, you're
more
fucked.
persistent this time.
Well,
Hello?
grab a torch,
I knew Twilight
light
would
this
most likely
place on
lock the door.
fire.
But what if this person had a spare key? I could not take any chances as I ran upstairs, performing the maneuver I had pulled off a few days earlier, jumping over and behind the bed.
When would that ever
Last time,
work?
I was now waiting underneath a layer of Twilight's bedsheets. I could not express how
I'll be
lucky I was
surprised if
feeling
that
at that
works.
moment for taking that precaution.
You guys can
Twilight had
imagine
forgotten
why.
to lock the door. The doorknob was turned, and I could hear the hoofsteps of another pony entering my castle.
Your
I
castle?
was
No,
shaking my
wait,
nervousness
what,
as
your
I didn't know
castle?
what would happen
I,
if he saw
I'm
me.
either hearing this wrong or he's actually
I
saying
could
his
not feel
castle.
Twilight. I
Wow.
just couldn't. But at that moment, I realized that my left leg was peeking out and visible from the other side of the bed. So I crawled back a bit so I could get into a better position. If I only hadn't done what I had just done, I would have maybe gotten away with it. As I crawled back, my head bumped into the nightstand next to the bed. It made a clear but loud noise that anyone would notice.
No, boy.
My heart stopped as the intruder said,
Oh, I've got you now.
as she walked up the stairs towards me.
This is such a
she
dramatic
giggled as if this was
music.
a game of hide and seek. She was closer. Now
God,
on
she
the
sounds
other
like a
side of the bed.
psychopath.
Any movement I made
This is
made
actually
the
really
situation
scary
worse.
from his
She must have noticed
point of
my
view.
not so clever disguise as she yelled
Aha! I gotcha!
Holy shit.
as she pulled off the sheets and got the surprise of a lifetime. Me.
Goodbye.
The pony that screamed for her life and ran out the door right away was pink, with a puffy, darker pink hair, smelling like cotton candy. I had now broken my first promise to Twilight. Don't be seen by anyone. I could not tell if she was going to come back with a torch and pitchfork, or if she was scarred for the rest of her life. But I had to prepare for a return.
I can imagine this.
All I was wishing for was a way to alert Twilight, so she could come and protect me. But she said she would come home at sundown, and it was almost noon now.
You did not see
I was
a
all
human.
alone, and
I
nowhere to
did.
go, because then I would
Humans
break
are
my second
mythical
promise.
creatures.
Stay in the library.
We
no
have
matter
dragons and
what. Not only
griffins
would I fail
and
Twilight
we're
again,
talking
but also if I
ponies.
left out the door to hide somewhere else,
And
I would be
humans
guaranteed
is what
to
you're
be
not
found
believing.
way faster. I jumped over the bed and ran to the door. Unfortunately, the door could only be locked with a key, even from the inside. A key which Twilight had not offered me
Just
yet.
take about 7
So I
of those a
grabbed
day
whatever furniture I
and
could
you'll be
find,
fine.
And I pulled it in front of the door. 2 tables and a chair had to do it. Now, I had no other way of preparing than to wait. And wait I did.
So you gotta read
About
books
1 hour
again.
later, my fears came true. While reading a book
Or
to
not.
pass time, the pink pony was back. And this time, she brought the cavalry. She had reinforcements. I could hear them outside the door as they were walking closer.
I swear, you guys, I saw him. He was there.
The pink pony said,
Let's we're here.
I am so dead. My mind whispered to me. I heard the doorknob being turned, but this time they were met with resistance. The furniture.
Furniture. One
Unfortunately,
weakness.
the door opened a little bit before being blocked, and
Okay,
they were
never
able
mind.
to realize that it was not the lock that kept them from entering.
Look, he
That's
locked the door.
unmanageable.
The cotton candy pony said, I am so dead. My mind was telling me.
Move over then.
Another voice responded. This creature, which I assumed to be another pony, had a southern accent, like a farmer.
Oh,
stereotypical.
Applejack, my
Then I heard some
sexy
changing
pony.
footsteps as if they were changing formation.
Oh, I made
Then I heard
myself laugh,
kicking.
sorry.
The farmer, apparently, was now trying to kick in the door.
Yeah, Applejack was the one
vibrated,
pony that
showing
convinced
that the
me
plan
to
was
be a
working
farmer.
for them.
I want to
I
be
am
a
so
farmer.
dead. My mind was
It's
yelling
an
at me.
easiest job.
Do something! I looked around and
Well,
noticed
not
the window.
easy, but
It was small and
takes a
round,
lot of work
but just
still.
enough for me
It's
to
good
squeeze
job.
through. I took this as a last resort, but I had to get out of there. I opened the hatch on the window and then slowly pushed the window open as I heard the chair being knocked away from the door. I was 2 tables away from being discovered. I crawled out the window as quickly as possible. and
What's
just in
worse
time
than
as I
being
heard the
seen
door
by
fly open,
5
At the same
ponies
time as I landed headfirst on the ground.
is being
I stayed there,
seen
afraid of
by
moving. I heard the sound
about...
of hooves
Wait,
walking
how many
inside.
ponies are there in Ponyville?
There is nobody here. And don't you tell me that I just kicked in a door for no reason.
As much as there are in Ponyville.
I swear, I found him behind Twilight's bed, hiding.
They know it's him, so that's a clue that they knew about him.
I allowed myself to smile a bit.
How could he even get here? He is not from our
I'm
world.
already smiling.
I don't know.
From the outside
Do they know who I
and the
am?
inside.
I have never seen them before.
Maybe there's a reason.
You haven't seen Twilight before, but yeah,
A new
you never
voice,
see
he
him.
said. The voice was very noble, as a British lady. How many of them are there? I was thinking.
Peas and
But
crumpets.
in addition to the farmer and the cotton candy pony, we now have the lady.
I mean, she's been very secret and inactive lately. Maybe she brought him here somehow.
Exactly.
The cotton candy pony seemed very proud of that excuse of her being right the whole time.
But where did he go then?
This window was open. He must have climbed out.
As the cotton candy pony said that, my heart stopped for a second time.
Okay guys, now I want tea, so I'll be back. Also, if you've come this far, congrats. Love you guys. I'll be back. I made myself tea. And I did not drink it yet. I made a couple of mess, just trying to make it too imaginative. big problem for me. But yeah, let's get back to it.
They were going to find me. No doubt. Twilight, where are you? I had to find Twilight. She could stop them. She said she went to the Evertree Forest. That's where I came from. My mind was in top gear right now. Mentally studying the path on which I had chased Twilight before for so long
trying to kill
was
you
a
or
very
something?
good choice, since I had now the
think
path
they're gonna
to run
attack you.
and hopefully find Twilight.
Actually, yeah, Twilight's
As I heard the
first
ponies
thing
walk
she
over to
did
the
was
window, I prepared myself to run.
quickly.
There was a catch, though. I had to run around and past the front of the treehouse to get on track. Hopefully they were all inside looking out the window by that time. Now or never, I thought, as I took off in a quick start. I rounded the tree, but as I looked at the door, I caught her eye contact. The fourth pony, guarding the
Ooh,
door.
flush eye.
Why didn't I expect this?
Flush eye,
She had yellow fur and
flirt
light
back,
pink hair.
flirt.
Way
Look
lighter
at
than the
that.
cotton candy pony's pink hair. She must be reserved, since she did not talk before. But now, she was screaming on the top of her lungs.
Wait, what?
He's here! He's right here!
Wow.
This was the third time my heart stopped in the matter of 5 minutes.
Loudest
I did
scream
not
I've
stop,
ever
though.
heard from Flush
I
Eye
ran as
was...
fast as I could away from the library, having nothing but the
That's
Evertree Forest
literally
behind.
hard.
I had received a great head start, as when I looked back, they had all gathered outside and just spotted me, but I was several hundreds of feet away. They all started to run after me, in a formation similar to a herd of cows gone wild. They were now yelling at me to wait. They were yelling at me to stop. But when you are being chased by 4 creatures that are twice as big, twice as heavy, and twice as strong, you do not wait. You do not stop. You run, and you run like hell. I tried not to focus on the enemies behind me, and focus more on the track. But
Stop
whenever I
calling
looked
them
back,
now.
they were
Let's
closer.
call them ponies.
They were a lot
enemies.
faster than me, and any time they could have caught up to me. I had to shake them off my tail, since I could not outrun them. When I finally arrived in the center of Ponyville, there was roughly 50 feet in distance between us. In an attempt to confuse them and get them off track, I ran into narrow alleyways. I took left and right in a random order to get them lost. But then I realized I was lost too.
Ooh.
But I just kept going. I thought my plan worked, since when I got out on the main street, only 3 of them were left. The farmer was missing. I had gained more air in between us,
Farmer
and now
was
it was
missing.
about 100
She ain't
feet,
missing,
'cause I thought
bruh.
my
She's
plan was
clever.
working perfectly. I had passed many other civilian ponies while running in this town now.
Wait, well that
The
would mean
street
everyone
seemed
saw
empty,
you.
abandoned.
Well, every pony
As I
saw
ran
you.
along the street, it got tighter and tighter between the buildings,
Yes.
and there was no other way to go than forward. So that's where I ran. That is also where my plan backfired, because in the distance, I witnessed a movement in the outlet of the street.
Applejack, here she comes.
She had left the herd and taken smarter turns to predict my spontaneous movements.
Hell yeah.
And when I was out on this street, she could easily run around
Kiss
and
my
cut
shit
me
out,
off
bruh.
from the only way out of there. I stopped, looking fiercely for a way out.
Oh, Applejack, you sexy ass pony.
They had me
I love
surrounded,
you.
exactly where they
Oh,
wanted
I'm
me.
weird. Take my life.
They slowed down and instead started to walk slowly towards me, preparing
For a minute, I thought that
sudden
that
attacks.
fountain was Rainbow Dash.
Care to explain to us what in tarnation you think you're doing here, and where Twilight is?
The farmer
He's just
said
here
she
looking
walked
at
up
that
towards
sign
me.
on the top right corner. Nothing suspicious
I
about
whistled,
that.
but I don't know if they heard it. It was more of a small, desperate squeak, actually. I started to panic inside. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It was over. I should have just surrendered right there, but I didn't. I decided to fight until the very last second. As the 4
Fight
ponies
to my
approached
last
me,
breath.
3 from my back and the farmer from my front, I decided to try and run around the farmer and that way escape. It was a horrible plan.
That was a bad
I
idea.
tried. I took off against the buildings on my right in an attempt to run around the farmer pony and avoid her snatch. But I failed. As soon as she saw what was coming, she jumped and tackled me to the cold, hard ground. For the
Oh
second
my
time,
god, that
I was
face, I
lying
love
helpless under
her.
the weight of these creatures. Twilight! I yelled before finally one of the 3 came up and covered my mouth with her hoof. It was the pink one. The smell of cotton candy
True
showered over me
British
and calmed me
gentleman.
down as the farmer continued.
Listen, boy, we do not want to hurt you. But
God
if you
save the
struggle
Queen.
and won't cooperate, we will have to. Just calm down and answer the simple questions. You got that?
It's like Pinkie Pie is trying to cover up her body and she's just trying to undress herself. Now listen.
The first thing I said was,
you give me
"Who are you?"
the information.
Wait, you don't remember us?
I love Pinkie Pie. Who are you?
Convinced that I had learned my lesson.
I'm Pinkie Pie.
Trust me, after being wrestled down to the ground 2 times, I had. I sat up and decided to collaborate with these ponies, but not before asking them a question. That is exactly what Twilight said.
Ooh,
What the hell is going on here?
Flush, I'm ready. Pinkie Pie, Applejack, you lot.
I bet Twilight knows what this fuss is about.
The farmer continued.
Well,
And fucking what's her name?
Alright.
Rainbow
And
Dash.
this is
I'm counting that sign. There's
The lady
Rainbow
said,
Dash.
and pointed towards the
Wait a
yellow
minute.
pony standing far
That
off
sign does
the
look a bit
wall.
like Rainbow Dash. Either it
Shine.
does, or I'm just going
Get
crazy.
with the literal
No,
names.
just kidding. This just
We are close friends of Twilight.
5.
Speaking of that, where
No,
is
4.
She left this morning with Spike to retrieve some potion ingredients from the Everfree forest. She said she wouldn't be back
That
until
tastes more
Sunday.
sugar. Tastes
Well
disgusting.
then, we'll just have
Still,
to wait for her.
tea. I gotta finish it. That's my motto.
Shippy dippy.
I drink tea, gotta finish my
Was the
tea.
first thing
If I drink
Fluttershy
coffee,
added to this discussion.
finish halfway.
No. I mean, it is best for her if she does not know. Come on, let's go. She's probably napping somewhere anyways.
Element of honor. Oh!
Somewhere in my mind, that name clicked. I had heard it before. But where? And who was she? On the way back to Twilight's library, we apologized to each other. Me for resisting arrest, and they for, well, knocking me down and keeping me in a grip against my will. They also told me about themselves. I was apparently correct on my nicknames of these ponies. Applejack was a farmer. Rarity seemed very satisfied, as I had said that I earlier thought of her as a lady, since she had dreams about living in Canterlot with other noble ponies.
You made me
And
drink
Fluttershy
tea.
was indeed shy.
British.
The thing was so random and joyful as she loved parties and baking, which most likely
See, I can
explained her
speak like a
chivalrous
nice
style.
little British guy. Fuck you,
I
little
also noticed
fucking
that they all had
twat.
tattoos
I will
on their
beat
flank,
your
just like
ass
Twilight.
while drinking
Applejack
teas and
had
crumpets.
apples, Fluttershy had butterflies, Rarity had diamonds, and Pinkie Pie had balloons.
That
When I
gave me
asked
the boost
them
I
why and
needed.
how they all
Even though I
got it,
talk like complete
Rarity
bullshit.
replied,
You don't remember anything, do you? Anyways, these are not tattoos, silly. They are called cutie marks. They display that certain something
Would you like to feel them,
special.
silly boy?
But we do not get them until we find out what that special something is, which normally happens very early in a pony's life. Applejack has apples because she loves apples.
Don't know if you
I
can.
have diamonds,
I don't know
as
if you
I
guys can
fashion.
see.
Fluttershy
the
has
secret.
butterflies because she loves small animals, and Pinkie Pie has balloons.
Don't know if you guys can
Because she
see,
likes
but we have bunch of
Correct.
dishes.
Cutie marks are very
A bunch of
important as they
things
mark what
to
our
clean.
personality stands for. And
In the
what are you
sink.
doing?
Rarity looked at
Yeah.
me, but I had stopped listening to what she was saying as my eyes had just noticed the movements in the sky. My eyes kept moving along with the daring speeds of this creature as she took elegant but still dangerous movements, displaying her magnificent tricks. There she was, with the cyan blue fur and her wings beautifully cruising along with the wind blowing in her multicolored mane. I was stunned. The tricks, the elegance, and the quick but genius turns.
That's
I
Rainbow
had seen
Dash.
it all before. But where?
Her ass is moving
Rarity
quicker
turned
than the
and looked
speed
at
of
the
light.
direction that my eyes had so clearly been pointing at.
Oh no, it's Rainbow Dash. She can't see him. We have to do something.
Oh no,
Applejack looked
it's Rainbow
furiously around for a
Dash.
solution.
Rainbow
I'm terribly
dashing
sorry
away,
for this.
dashing,
She
darling.
swung her body and pushed me
Oh.
into a puke green bush.
But
To be honest, I'm not even good, so I'm not. I mean, they're trying their best. So
You would
it's
think that
alright.
landing in a bush would give you scratches and hurt, but the colorful green bushes in this world didn't.
Yeah,
They were soft.
now let's burn this
As I
bush
quickly
alive.
adjusted position
It's a
to the
satanic
comfortable,
bush.
I heard as Rainbow Dash
Dumba,
flew up
dumba,
to the rest
dumba,
of the ponies
Satan.
just outside the bush.
See, I can move this with my hand. I can move
Her
flames.
names, her tricks, her colors, her agility.
Look at this.
Why was it all so
Shit.
familiar?
I can move this. I can move flames with my hand.
voice said.
Yeah,
I assumed it to be her. It was also familiar.
yeah,
Who's in the bush?
She continued. She knew I was here?
I am the flame bender. Screw the airbenders. I'm the flame bender.
Territory in there. I recommend that you do not look.
The group started laughing for a bit. Then Rainbow Dash's
Oh,
voice
wonder what it'll
spoke
be like
again.
hanging out with girls.
That is your cat, isn't it?
Holy shit, I felt about my thumb off.
I'm glad you remembered. By the way, how is your memory coming along?
Oh, I think I've got the most back now. I'm fine, thanks. I was just checking if I could slip up on my
Interesting. Rainbow Dash loses her memory
She
as
had a memory
well.
loss too?
Awfully
As the group
big
continued to chat,
coincidence,
my mind was
isn't
in deep
it?
thought. My thoughts were fighting an endless struggle. One part of me kept mentioning theories, and the other kept debunking them. What if she teleported here together with me from another world? But she is a pony too. Pony? But she has wings. So does Fluttershy.
I love
Yeah,
this
but
transaction.
she never uses them. That doesn't matter. What if it was just a coincidence? Yeah, she probably hit her head while performing one of her stunts and lost her memory just in time as I came here and lost mine. But that does not explain why she seems to connect to my deep memories. I wonder if she would feel the same about her memories if she saw me.
Well, I gotta go and keep practicing. You have fun, you guys.
Was the last thing I heard in Rainbow Dash's voice. Then the sound of a violent but fast takeoff took over my eardrums, but I waited for an indication to that the coast was clear before I stepped out. About 10 seconds later, someone kicked the bush, which I assumed to be that sign, so I crawled back out. Now I want to know what the heck is going on. Who was she? I was not planning to tell them about how she somehow connected to me just yet, but at least I wanted some answers. They looked around, slightly panicked, all waiting for someone else to take care of that question. I had them cornered. There were no distractions in sight, and they had to give me an answer this time. As they all waited, it was Rarity that had lost the game of silence and spoke first.
Well, that was Rainbow Dash.
She cleared her throat, looking like she was preparing the world's longest lie.
Yeah.
Is also
One day, Applejack bumped, she bucked the tree so hard, apples fell on Rainbow Dash's head.
has a terrific fear of you.
How big?
Humans.
Gigantic.
Applejack and Pinkie Pie looked at her for a second, then turned
Fear
back to me
of
to wait my reaction.
humans.
She lost her memory too? I continued. Rarity looked at Applejack for support, but only received a nod, meaning continue.
I mean, honest, no. What?
Oh, that. That's just a coincidence, dear. She hit her head yesterday while performing one of her tricks.
It's a
That
shitty
was my
thing,
theory.
what you're doing.
But coming
Splitting
out of
them
her
up.
lips, it sounded like a complete lie.
Judging
wanted
from the
to keep
first
interrogating
video
them,
of
but I
My
knew
Little
it was
Dashie,
hopeless.
his life was
Ponies may
complete
be
shit.
great wrestlers, but they were ridiculously horrible at
He
lying.
hated it.
It
He
was
hated his
just
life
embarrassing. Don't
until
get me
Rainbow
wrong,
Dash
I
came
had nothing
along.
against them at all.
Can't he just live
I
here?
wanted the truth. But I
Or at
realized it
least
was pointless to
Rainbow
keep
Dash,
trying
no.
to squeeze it out of these ponies.
Can't he just live
and
here?
not worth the effort. So I decided
No,
to end
no.
the examination
In
there
the
and
quest
switch
area.
to a more polite topic. Okay then, I'm glad we have that sorted out.
Oh my
Is there any
god.
food around? I'm starving.
I'm
They all
starving,
sighed in
yeah.
relief as Pinkie Pie quickly took over the conversation.
I love how
with her
he's like a
crazy
better
light and
liar
happy
than
voice.
everyone.
I know.
Every
We can
pony.
eat a sugar cube corner. I'm sorry to burst your bubble there, sweetheart, but it was probably a good idea for Twilight to keep him hidden. You should go back to the library and wait for Twilight to return.
Aww. Come on, Applejack.
Pinkie Pie responded in a complaining tone, yet still somehow retained her positive attitude.
Don't be such a downer. He said she wouldn't come back until sundown. Wasn't that so?
She turned to me, and as I nodded back, she continued.
Rainbow Dash is far off training her stunts. And with creatures such as Spike, Opal, and Renana running on Ponyville, I don't think the other ponies will care too much about him.
Applejack tried to interrupt, but Pinkie Pie kept spraying arguments in her face.
And besides, he's been in Twilight's library so long, he must be bored to death.
I would have ignored her arguments, but she actually had a point on that last thing. I mean, sure, the library has some fascinating books,
Fascinating.
but I would
yes.
love to come outside and see more of this town.
Hmm.
Applejack turned to me to hear my opinions. As I smiled, she returned to Pinkie Pie with a defeated expression.
Sure, why not?
Pinkie
Oh,
Pie's
my
initial
imagination's
reaction was
going
jumping and
wild.
screaming, but
I can
thought could
imagine
also see a hint of
everything
pride and tears of
that
joy
could be
somewhere
happening
in there.
here.
Looking
So
at
many
the other ponies'
possibilities,
careless
so much
expressions, I
movement,
assumed this
so
to be
much
standard behavior from her.
characters.
About 15 minutes later, we arrived, She had been talking to me about cupcakes for the whole trip, since I told her that I could not remember what it was. Apparently, that was a disaster. She had now been naming every flavor in the universe, and of course, promising me to be able to taste every single
Pinkie
one
Pie
of them
is
in
easily
the
the
future.
is one. Well, I think Pinkie Pie is easily everyone's favorite character. Technically, she's the easiest to be the favorite character.
Sugar Cube
That's why she's
Corner
not
had
my
now topped
number
my
one
list
favorite
of weird
character. I'd say
creations.
she's second
The bottom of
because
it
well,
looked
she's
like a
easy
normal
to be a
18th
favorite
century
character,
building,
so I don't want
but
that.
the roof looked like it was made out of gingerbread and frosting.
Besides, I've checked the
Seriously,
farmer
the
with
whole
her
building
southern
looked like
voice.
a gingerbread house. On the roof,
And
it had a
about
tower that
parents
looked like
is
it was made from
mystery.
a giant pink cupcake.
Not
I
even
could only
the
dare myself.
creators of not even
They let me
Hasbro would
inside,
tell
and
us
luckily, the
what
interior
happened to the
wasn't made of
parents.
chocolate. It was normal wooden walls,
Too much
but with
theories.
decorations all over the place in the shape of treats. Lollipops, cupcakes, candy canes all over the place.
So much candy.
Decorating what else would have been a normal
Masturbation.
yellow and brown
Oh,
walls.
kill me.
There were tables inside, some for people to sit and dine, and some were set up to show off the piled up cupcakes of various colors. Hansel and Gretel would crap their pants if they saw this. Each pony went and did what they thought was interesting.
Oh,
Fluttershy and Rarity went to mingle, studying the different treats that were piled up on the shelves and tables. Applejack took her time and tasted a cupcake that was set to display on a small
Oh, I
rounded
swear,
table
Pinkie Pie is like
in
the
corner,
witch
and I was
in
left standing in the
NLP.
doorway.
In the
I did not
Tony
notice
Hawk.
Pinkie Pie
Seriously.
until something pushed me forward from my back. I quickly turned around as the big, fluffy, and pink mane was tickling my back.
You're gonna help me make cupcakes.
She said. As I was walking into the
She was
kitchen, Pinkie
interrupting
Pie,
the
she
ponies,
kept
that's what
talking
I
as if
love.
someone had given her a time limit to how fast she could talk, making her squeeze as many words in as a short time period as
So,
possible.
My
She
Little
kept
Pony
reminding
is
me
the
how this was
most
going to be
positive
so
show
amazing,
I loved.
and talking about her own
That
experiences
is
about
why I
making
love the
cupcakes,
show.
one
It's
crazier
very
than the other.
positive.
She only gave me time to respond with single words,
And it
such
helps
as,
me deal
"Oh,
with my negativity.
Yes. Uh-huh. And or, really?
While I beat up the eggs, you can slice the correct
Yeah.
amount of butter.
Pinkie Pie told me, and put a pound of butter on the desk in front of me.
Let's see. We need
But
2/3 a cup of butter. Use this.
Was the words she said before she put it down in front of me. A simple instrument to slice up the correct amount of butter. But in my mind, it had a way different meaning. A knife. The knife. I jumped back as I stared onto the black handle, then moved on to its sharp, shiny edge. I started to sweat as my body was shaking. I was reliving feelings that I had felt before, some time in my past. I felt anguish, nervousness, regret, loneliness, depression. Finally, my body was feeling relief as I tumbled back and fell flat onto the ground. Fainted. Unconscious.
feelings I know all too well.
What are you doing here?
Twilight yelled as I woke up.
Loneliness,
back in the library.
depression,
Twilight's
anxiety.
bed. I turned my head slightly, putting the entire floor downstairs in my view.
Regret.
Applejack,
Hate
Fluttershy,
life.
Pinkie Pie, and Rarity was all looking at a really nervous Twilight standing in the doorway. She must have just arrived home with Spike as she was carrying a lot of plants.
Very
and
the
what must have
British
been the potion
little
ingredients.
smuggler creation.
Where is he?
Applejack stepped forward.
He is resting in
I'm
the
not
bed.
speaking to
He
you.
fell unconscious earlier today.
She pointed towards my location.
I
Quickly,
love,
closed my
I
eyes
love
to make me
Applejack.
think I was
She's
still
like the
unconscious.
second
Because I
leader
might now
of the
finally
group.
find out about the whole situation.
Twilight is like the
That's who I
first
am.
leader.
Unconscious?
She's
What
like
happened?
she's like the leader of the
How to
group.
wake him?
And when she's gone, Applejack's the
Twilight, the
leader.
big question is, why is he here?
When she's
And
gone,
why have you
the
been
little
keeping
will
a
be
secret
third
from
leader.
us?
Well, while I was trying to erase Rainbow Dash's memories and replace them with our own moments together, I must have brought him here somehow. I found him in the Everfree Forest with the memory loss.
So I was connected to that Rainbow Dash pony somehow. But how? And why?
I took him here and kept it a secret because I was afraid of your reactions to my mistake. I thought I could easily teleport him back, but as it turns out, it's harder than I thought. Way harder.
Now it was her turn to ask them questions.
When did you find him?
Pinkie Pie quickly rose up.
Oh, I know this one. It was earlier this morning and I was curious as to why you were so spooky and secret. So I wanted to check on how you're feeling. I heard a strange little voice inside and I discovered that you hadn't locked the door.
Twilight sighed and gave herself a facepalm at this mistake.
So I assumed you were home and it was alright. Then I saw him and screamed and I went out the door. I quickly gathered up you guys.
She looked around and waved her hoofs to clarify that it was just the four of them.
And in return, he ran away, but we caught him and Applejack tackled him down. Then he went to Sugar Cube Corner, and he just fainted when I gave him a knife to slice the butter while we were making cookies.
So the knife part really happened. I had hoped it was just a dream. A really horrible dream.
Dreams.
Wait, what? You tackled him to the ground?
Look who's talking, I thought. The pony who welcomed me so gently in the first place.
Well,
With
we
open
had to.
arms.
He ran and we couldn't let Rainbow Dash find him. Now,
Where
Twilight,
is
you
Rainbow
hit
Dash
critical
now?
bastard. I
She
love
said she
you.
was going to practice her tricks and maneuvers. Okay,
Twilight was now thinking, possibly for a solution, or a way out of this sticky situation her lying had caused her.
Okay, guys, I'll be back. Yeah, I'll be back, guys. Hi, guys. Sorry about this. Apparently, stuff happened, but, I messed up, and now I've forgotten where am I. Sorry, guys. I forgot where am I in the video, so, and it doesn't, and one thing I say about this app is that it doesn't tell you how long it is, so, like, it doesn't show the time when I had to go, you know, jump stuff. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty shit, so, sorry if this is, like, repetitive or something, but, yeah, let's just continue.
Pony somehow. But how?
I've also lowered the volume, because when I rewatched it, her voice mixed a bit.
I was afraid of your reactions to my mistake. I thought I could easily teleport him back, but as it turns out, it's harder than I thought. Way harder.
Yeah, it was
Also on a
fortunate
different
because
location,
then
because why not?
When did you find him?
Pinkie Pie quickly rose up.
Oh, I know this one. It was earlier this morning, and I was curious as to why you were so spooky and secret. So I went to check on how you're feeling. I heard a strange little voice.
Yeah, I've gone a bit back.
Twilight sighed and gave herself a facepalm at this mistake.
So I assumed you were home and it was all right. Then I saw him and
If you guys want to just skip a bit, like literally double tap on the right side. Like, so good, I'm a bit tired.
So the knife part really happened. I had hoped it was just a dream. A really horrible dream.
Ha, dreams.
What? You tackled him to the ground?
Look who's talking, I thought. The pony who welcomed me so gently in the first place.
well, we had to.
Love your
He
sarcasm.
ran and we couldn't let Rainbow Dash find him. Now, could we?
Where is Rainbow Dash now? She said she was going to practice her tricks and maneuvers. Okay,
Twilight was now thinking, possibly for a solution, or a way out of this sticky situation her lying had caused her.
let's just forget the small commotion and focus on the main goal we all share, to get him back as fast as possible.
As they all came to an agreement about being even more secret and mysterious, the same questions were showing up in my mind, teasing me for not knowing the answers. Why do I and Rainbow Dash have a connection? What type of memories did they erase from her? Why did they erase her memories?
Those are such good
Who
questions.
exactly is Rainbow Dash? The last question that floated up in my mind before I finally went back to sleep was, who am I?
Name of the fucking
Sometime later,
title.
my body was fully rested and decided
Not
to me.
name, like the
My
word.
forehead was feeling
Title.
awfully
Seriously
cold
said
and
it.
wet.
That's nice. I
As I
like
opened
that.
my eyes, I was met with Fluttershy leaning over
Who
me.
am I?
Reliving the memory from first meeting Spike, Fluttershy jumped back and screamed. Her sudden scream gave me quite the shock too, but I didn't make a noise. To find out what the chilly and wet sensation on my forehead was, I slowly moved my hand over and touched a piece of wet, cold cloth. I took it off and studied it with my quite numb eyes.
Are you feeling better?
Aw, Fluttershy, you little
Still
kind ass
recovering from
pony.
my
I love
awakening.
you.
Actually, I was never feeling especially bad physically in the first place. But since this was the first time Fluttershy spoke to me personally, I decided to give her a positive response. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Thanks. I rose up and sat upright in the bed.
Her
As
eyes.
Fluttershy nodded back as if she was
Her
saying no problem,
eyes.
Rarity came up next to her.
Oh,
Fluttershy
their
here has
eyes,
been
all
taking
their
care of you
faces,
when
all
you
their
were passed
bodies.
out. She is a
You
very
guys
good
gotta
nurse.
admit, these
I
ponies
could
look
see
so
Fluttershy
cute.
blush, and I was overwhelmed with adorableness. If that isn't a real word, someone needs to make it one so I can properly describe what I was feeling. I took the time to have a look around. Indeed, I was in the library. Rarity must have noticed my eyes' rapid movements, as she said,
You fainted over at Sugar Cube Corner, so we thought it would be best to take you over here so you could rest while we awaited twilight. You should thank Applejack. She was the one who carried you all the way over here.
I had another, closer look around. I couldn't see her. Only Fluttershy, Rarity, and now Twilight walking up the stairs towards me. Where is she? And Pinkie Pie? Twilight took the time to answer that question.
As I came back, we agreed to do what we can together to get you home. Applejack and Pinkie have work to do, so that's why they aren't here. Applejack has apples to buck for the season, and Pinkie Pie has customers to serve at the Sugar Cube Corner.
So what happens now?
You need to eat something.
Fluttershy, the medic, took a bowl with some liquid from a table and put it on my lap.
That's adorable.
I made you some soup. You need it.
As I took my first sip from the extraordinary and tasty soup, Twilight continued.
What happened yesterday when you fainted?
I swallowed, and it really helped me clear my throat.
Now how you explain it?
I don't know. I don't remember.
A complete and utter lie.
It happened so fast. That was a lie.
Knew it.
That was a complete lie. I knew what it was, the knife. But it was linked to my memories in the worst possible way, so I didn't dare to think about it again.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
After breakfast, Twilight, Rarity, and Spike left again, this time to retrieve a gemstone needed for my transportation. Rarity was an expert in finding gemstones using her magic. Twilight knew which rare gemstone was needed, and Spike was going to dig it out. I was alone with Fluttershy for a few hours. Towards the beginning, she was very nervous and uncomfortable with the situation, but as we started talking, I could notice the symptoms of her being nervous slowly cease. When she wasn't shy, she was very nice, actually. She lived in a house quite far away from town and said she liked it that way, since she was a bit reserved. She also talked about the small animals and how much she loved taking care of them. We became and were good friends by the time Applejack came 2 hours later.
I bet you Fluttershy's a
She had
furry.
finished her chores and decided to drop by as I was about to leave.
Applejack.
Towards the evening, we were all set. Pinkie Pie had arrived to say goodbye as well, and Twilight was done with her preparations. This is how I was going to get home. First, I needed to drink a potion that would assure that nothing happened to my body during the trip. Second, Twilight cast a spell on a gemstone currently lying on the floor, which turns it into a portal. Third, I have about 60 seconds to step in the portal and finish the transportation. The coordinates were set to around my house, which Twilight seemed to know more about than me.
Wow.
All of the steps were prepared, but before we started, we all took the time to say goodbye. Applejack tipped her hat to me. Fluttershy and Pinkie started to cry together. Rarity told me it's been really nice spending time with me, and when I gave them all each a giant hug, Twilight whispered in my ear,
It's for the best, remember that.
"It's for the best. Remember that." I
Still,
took a deep breath
when
and
does it
accepted
stay
the
there?
soup-like potion that Twilight handed to me. It was disgusting, but I took it down in one hit. Quite impressive. I looked into the pony's eyes one more time, as to say goodbye, when the door opened. It was the sixth pony. It was the pony that had been messing with my mind for so long. It was Rainbow Dash.
My Little Dashie.
I'm looking everywhere. When I asked Applebum, she said that you were here.
Rainbow Dash stopped right in her tracks as she met my eye contact. Time was slowed down to nothing but fragments. Everything surrounding the two of us was slowly melting away. Soon, it was just the two of us, alone in an empty space. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else was important.
This is so detailed,
According to the look on her
so
face,
beautiful,
she felt
yet
the
so
exact same way.
sad.
I studied her body closer. She had light blue fur and a rainbow-colored mane, with a matching rainbow-colored tail. She had purple iris, kind of like Twilight, and she had wings. This was a beautiful Pegasi. I looked at her flank for a cutie mark, and there it was. It was a cloud shooting a rainbow-themed lightning. Everything about her I had seen before. It was all so clear in my memories. But I still couldn't reach them. That's right. Still blank.
How?
You had to experience your memories to remember them?
But he is.
She was right there. How could this
Technically.
not be experiencing it?
How?
What cruel lord has decided to put me in such mental suffering? I looked at her eyes again, and I could feel the energy in them, because I knew she was reliving her
15
past.
years
She was
raising
given the
Rainbow
valuable
Dash.
memories I was so far
That's
spared
what
from.
happened. How could
She
he not
was
remember her?
remembering. Her eyes made rapid movements
Such
back and
cruel
forth,
fate.
clearly showing how she was jumping from memories in her past. And I even started to notice tears building up. On my side, it was empty. Why couldn't I remember?
It's like he didn't
What is
care.
happening to me?
That's... no.
What has happened to me? And what is happening to her? I began to notice her lips moving, trying hard to shape a word, but she failed. She gave it another try. This time she looked up into my eyes, which gave her the push she needed, as she slowly whispered a word. It wasn't loud, but it was still so clear, more than anything ever in my past. She whispered, "Dad."
Oh,
Dad?
goosebumps.
She
Holy
called me her
shit.
Dad?
I did goosebumps. Chills. I
There's
do
no
not know.
possible way for me to be her biological father. What the hell was she talking about?
Well, adoption,
If I
that
really
works.
was her father, why did we have to be separated? Why couldn't I even know of her existence? Why couldn't she know of my existence?
Oh no, she's remembering. Hey, the portal's open. You have to go. Now! Ignore her!
Twilight yelled.
Twilight, please.
We were back in the library.
Just let it happen.
From the mindless world that my moment
They
together
need
with
each
Rainbow Dash
other.
brought us to.
More like
Applejack
he
and
needs
Twilight were
her.
now holding my so-called daughter in a firm grip.
Oh, I love when he
Barely
calls her
allowing
his
her to
daughter.
struggle. And she did. She kicked, squirmed, yelled, and was now openly crying.
Dad! No! Don't go! Don't leave me! Please!
The tears were flooding her cute, puffy, and light blue cheeks. It was truly a devastating sight.
You have to go now!
Twilight shouted while attempting to contain her panicking cyan blue friend.
Just go, partner. She'll be fine.
No.
Applejack was struggling just as much as Twilight. Rainbow Dash was very strong. I turned around, and the portal came into my focus. It was a large blue oval, just a bit taller than me and about 3 feet in width. I wanted to stop. I wanted to turn around and run into the arms of my daughter and let her go. But she wasn't my daughter. She was another pony who had somehow a deep connection to my memories. I could slowly feel my feet starting to move forward in the direction of the portal. I could only hear the bruised screams coming from her. They went straight into my mind, piercing everything on its way. It was driving me insane. This creature was sharing an unlimited amount of love for me. She would be willing to sacrifice herself for me. She yelled the word "Dad" over and over from a sore throat with only the sobbing of pure sadness stopping her. She loved me, but I couldn't say the same for her. What was wrong with me not to remember? Why can't I remember? What is wrong with me? My fingers touched the warm surface of the dark blue portal, and time seemed to slow down as I was noticing every detail of this room. The clock on the left side making clear noises. The glass of water on the table next to me, whose contents was splashing back and forth from all of the commotion going on behind me. The tears dropping onto the floor. A teardrop fell onto my foot, soaking into my sock. My cheek was wet. I was crying too. My frustration of not knowing my own name, my own past, my own family, had driven me to tears. Something broke the silence in my mind. A sound. A voice. A voice made it through the desperate barrier my mind had set up and reached into my conscience, my heart, and my soul. It was Rainbow Dash's sore and dry voice yelling straight into the deepest part of my mind. What had only been sobs before was now a clear and full sentence. was her last effort into changing my mind as her body
Dashie.
collapsed to the floor, strained from the struggling, the crying, and the emotional disorientation. She broke down into tears, and Applejack and Twilight did their best in comforting her. But I didn't pay attention to that. I froze. Time froze, and the world stopped spinning for a few seconds as my mind was being reset. Finding the box, putting the small and warm body into my jacket, the cute little creature crawling up to my bed, her first bath, her first birthday, her first words, her small and adorable body flying for the first time, only to break the sound barrier a few months later, all leading up to that night. That night where I, like many others, tucked her into bed, and she said those words to me for the first time. That was the night I also realized that I really was her daddy. My mind continued putting together one of the most beautiful sequences I have ever seen. Her first computer, her first tickets to the Indy 500, to many other racing and flying performances we viewed together, and her many birthdays. The smiles and tears of joy she gave me in return for the items I gave to her to express my love for her.
That first episode made me cry. I love that first episode. The first video was so happy yet so sad.
She left, seemingly forever. But now here she was, behind me, crying like never before, and honestly, my eyes were leaking just as much by now. The glass of water was lifted from its wobbly place on the wooden table. Its content was poured all over the gemstone, and the portal disappeared in blue and smelly steam. My hand was holding the cup. I did that. My shocking actions continued as before Twilight could make a single noise in protest. I turned around, jumping towards my daughter and yelling, "I love you too, my little Dashie." Applejack and Twilight stepped back, realizing it was game over. I had retrieved all of my memories, and I was at last together with Dashie. And they would have to beat me down to the bone to be able to separate us two again.
I can imagine that, and that's just a sad imagination.
But most importantly, we did it together.
That's just
I stroked
beautiful.
my hand up and down in a petting manner. I felt her soft fur between my fingers as my hand slid across her back. I never wanted to let go, and she probably felt the same way. Her crying was less desperate now that we were together at last, but much more intense from all of the overwhelming emotions that currently showered over us. Her tears dripping down on my shoulder and mine on hers. Our eyes were devastatingly red from the moisture, and our hair, they were just a mess. But I didn't care. She didn't care. We didn't care. We had much bigger things to deal with. I sniffed away some tears and looked up. Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie were crying too, but now from what looked to be sympathy, and Rarity looked like she was on the verge of tears too. Meanwhile, Applejack and Twilight both wore fake "I'm glad for you" faces. What was the problem? Why couldn't we reunite?
Yeah.
I put Twilight's giant and purple eyes into my eyesight, my blurry and wet eyesight. Why? Was all of that my exhausted throat could express. Twilight looked away, and I completely crushed Rarity's poker face by saying this, as she too went crying, together with Pinkie and Fluttershy. I kept stroking Rainbow Dash's neck and back, feeling every inch of her messy yet beautiful mane. While waiting for Twilight's answer, I kept saying positive and supportive comments to Rainbow, such as, "It'll be okay. I love you too. I'm sorry. We're together now. That's all that matters. Don't worry." To calm her down, but I was probably crying just as much as her. Twilight finally gathered up strength to look into my eyes again, just after wiping away what seemed to be a tear. She looked over at Rainbow Dash, then back to me. That was enough of an answer to me. She didn't want to talk about it in front of her. The explanation would have to wait for later. Right now, it was only My Little Dashie that mattered.
That's just adorable.
It's been 2 days since I encountered Rainbow Dash and retrieved all of my memories about her, and it's the first time in these 2 days that we are to be separated. Rainbow Dash has work to do on the weather team, and I couldn't come along. I can't fly. Rainbow Dash gave me
Wonder
a
what
hug and
happened
went
if he
out the door
could.
to go home
Could he
and
still
get
come along?
prepared for the workday. For a moment, it was just me and Twilight.
Ooh, Twilight. Okay.
Well, I think I have to go.
Twilight was very uncomfortable with it being just us two, and started to walk towards the door that Rainbow Dash so recently had shut close. I ran in front of her and blocked off the door. Where do you think you're going? I demand an explanation now that it's just the two of us, I explained. Twilight hanged her head down in capitulation and responded.
Of course, I'm sorry.
She walked back and grabbed 2 chairs and put them next to a table.
Have a seat, and I'll get something to eat.
I followed her simple instructions, pulled out a chair, and took a seat. Shortly after, Twilight came back with some cupcakes to munch on while she led the conversation.
Cupcakes?
She
Why
sat down
not?
with a mildly sad expression and said,
What do you want to know?
everything. Let's begin with what happened after you took Rainbow Dash back here, and everything leading up to me being teleported here with a memory loss. I tried to sound as friendly as possible to lighten up her mood, but I'm afraid it didn't take any effect.
Yeah.
Alright, after we took her back, we realized she still had some memories left of you. We had to remove them as well. It was for the best. You understand, right?
Of course. Since we are from different worlds, yes. She did not
I thought I heard something.
belong on Earth. This was her home. Don't worry, Twilight. I'm not mad about that. I understand.
Thank you. Anyways, we also found out that the memories that didn't want to go away were the deepest. I
Wow.
wouldn't believe it, but her subconscious seemed to have a really deep connection with your subconscious. I assured Princess Celestia that I could handle it myself. I guess I was wrong.
She looked down into the floor for a second, and then back up to me as I took a bite of the delicious cupcake.
I looked all over, and when I finally found a spell that could work, I brought it down,
Disappointment.
including
That's the
your
one
revenge.
thing
She
Twilight
struggled at
Sparkle
first,
does
but then
not
she
want to
realized it's for
do.
the best.
Disappoint
Both
others.
of you.
And then something went wrong that caused me to show up?
Well, yes. I knew the spell was a bit risky since it had never been performed before, but it seemed
Wait,
useful.
what?
It worked.
It's never been performed before. How come she found it in
But in
Spellbook?
some way it
Seriously.
caused you to be transported here. Also with your memories of her lost.
I think I understand now. I took down the cupcake from my face and put it on the table again.
What?
You said that we seemed to have a deep connection between our subconscious. As Twilight nodded, I continued with my theory. Could it be that what happened to her memories reflected on mine because of our bond?
I suppose so, now that I think about it. That could very well be it.
Her confused face came back for a last return as she asked me,
But why did you end up over here then?
why the hell was she asking me questions about this? Anyways, I did have my theory. What if we had to be in the same dimension for the spell to proceed? Twilight shone up and seemed to be glad finally.
But you were not. But since we casted the spell, I tried solving the problem itself by transporting you here near the location of the spell.
She rose up and walked over to a shelf, picking out a book using her magic.
I need to check this out. Does it say anything about the problem in the instructions?
She asked herself. I followed her movements, jealous of her magic, being able to flip the pages without even touching the book.
I want
Here it
that.
is.
Called
No, it doesn't say
telekinesis.
anything about that here. The only negative effect listed is that the memories can be retrieved by experiencing them in person one more time.
My eyes opened up wide. I was right the whole time about that. I was very happy to finally have the loose ends being tied up. But there was something nagging in my mind. Something I had forgotten.
There. Now I've added that to the notes.
Twilight took down a quill from the surface of the book. She walked up to the table again and returned to her seat. Okay. Continue, I said. What happened after you cast the spell?
Well, there was a sudden blast coming from the Evergreen Forest. Your arrival, I presume?
I nodded and she continued.
Well, we didn't know what it was at the time. To us, it could have been anything. Dragon, mutant, Ursa Major, you name it.
I laughed a bit at their incredibly false theories. It was just little old me.
I offered myself to go check it out while the others went to spread the news, and have every pony and ponyville hide and prepare for the attack.
So that's why it was so empty when I arrived.
Yes, I quickly ran over to the evergreen forest. About 10 minutes later, I heard an incredible scream. Just a few hundred feet away from my position. It came from you. What was that, by the way?
I blushed a little when I remembered my freak out in the forest. Frustration.
I quickly found you, and then you noticed me, and our eyes met. When you
Oh,
yelled at
and
me,
their
I didn't know
eyes
if you were
met.
friendly or not, so I ran away.
There was
All the way back
romantic
to the
lighting
window.
and everything.
Also, I warned every pony that you were soon entering the town.
You didn't know who I was?
Huh?
Not at the time, no. By curiosity, I stayed and waited for you. I just wanted to have a closer look.
I finished my second cup.
Curiosity.
Kept listening.
Just as I thought you were not going to show up, you did. And you started to knock on doors like a fool.
Wow.
Yep. Just your friendly neighborhood human. Twilight looked confused. Of course, why would they have Spider-Man here? Reference.
Oh, I
I'm
love
sorry.
you.
Continue.
Eventually, I
Oh,
noticed
they
it
have
was you.
Spider-Man
I
reference.
jumped back and knocked over a barrel behind me.
That explains the noise.
Yeah.
You saw me, and I ran. You are very fast, by the way.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
noticing.
And everything that happened from then on, I think you can
compliments.
understand. I'm terribly sorry for my attack, by the way.
It's okay. People do some crazy stuff when under hard pressure, isn't that so?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoopsie
Our
doopsie doo.
conversation continued into laughter, and we talked about our own different experiences from our worlds. Twilight seemed very relieved that I wasn't interrogating as much as she'd thought me to, but eventually our joyful expressions faded away as we moved on to the inevitable, unpleasant topic.
We have to return you to your world as fast as possible.
Twilight continued from her speech about me not belonging in Equestria. I can't, I responded sadly.
You don't belong here.
So
It was
what?
the fourth time she had said that sentence in her rant when I finally responded with the truth. I do not belong on Earth either.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not?
To be honest, sometimes I feel like I don't belong on Earth
That
either.
was a very good question.
The people,
A
I hate
question
people. They
I
confuse
so
me
far
a
did
lot.
not have an answer to. Wrong. I did have the answer, actually. It had been nagging on my mind ever since Sugar Cube Corner. When I saw... I fell back over my chair.
Oh, that was
to
a
the
shake.
floor.
What's wrong?
The anguish! Make it stop! Twilight flew up from her chair just as fast as I had fallen. She walked up to me, very worried.
Just tell me what's wrong. Is there anything I can do?
Oh
I'm
my.
freezing. Get me a blanket. In 5 seconds, she
Oh
did so.
my.
She wrapped it around me. I was not gonna faint this time, I convinced myself.
Oh
Stay
my.
conscious. Instead, I cried.
What happened? Did I do something?
She sighed in selfish relief as I shook my
my.
head. She was still worried, though.
What's wrong then?
The memories came back now. What really happened after Rainbow Dash had left my life. I promised her I would be a better man. I promised
Here
myself.
comes the
I thought I
insanity.
would. I really did. Twilight backed off, shocked at my crazy rambling. Any time now, she would be kind enough to offer me a straitjacket. Life fell back to its normal routine. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, and be depressed. All day around, all month around, all year around. I had no sibling to turn to. My parents were dead, and I had left all of my friends behind when we moved to the countryside. I worked at an office, alone in a giant sector, alone all day. I was going crazy. I
That is
accepted
very
the napkin
sad.
Twilight offered me as I sat on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, crying and going insane. One more time. It
Twilight,
was
stand
the day.
back.
1 year after you took her away. Exactly. 1 year. Twilight was counting. She came to an agreement that Rainbow Dash was exactly 1 day in Equestria until I came. I was mourning her passing away. She was as much as dead to me. Gone forever. The one and only soul I could turn to. Love. I couldn't take it anymore. I let out a giggle out of pure insanity. It was so pretty. The text. I tried really hard to make it look pretty. The letter, sitting on the table. I remember every
No.
word I wrote to anyone who would make the horrific discovery. The photo album we had cherished
Scary,
was
man.
there too. The final page, the letter from Rainbow Dash. The last I ever heard of you, Rainbow. Underneath your writings, I added the small text. I'm sorry. I spoke to mid-air, pretending it to be Rainbow Dash for a moment.
That's just
Twilight
pure
looked up at
insanity.
all
What the
through her
fuck?
Her soul had not been devastated as mine had. That's where the knife came in.
Oh my
The
god.
ingenious escape plan. It was there too, as the final object on that table. It was just a kitchen knife, but it was the best tool I had. I lifted the knife from its cute spot on the table. I lifted my arms up as to show how I was holding the knife. The final words I spoke before the transportation interrupted me were, "I'm so sorry, Rainbow Dash. I honestly wish there was a better way to do this. I wish I didn't have to do this. But..." Twilight screamed. Those words. Those exact words. Twilight was the one who inspired me, as she said those exact words when they took Rainbow Dash. It was for the best, she also said. Do you like it? I also said,
Oh my god.
maybe I will meet you again someday.
No.
I love you, my little Dashie.
No!
Twilight screamed as I
Oh,
finally
that face.
fainted, ending my courageous act and escaping the horrifying madness no one should ever experience. But I did, and I can't forget. I will never forget.
Reality. It's a bullshit thing. I hate reality. It makes you do things like this.
Where am I?
Same
I rose
boring
up.
shit every day.
I was lying in a hospital bed. For how long have I been out this time?
You're in a mental hospital. They need to erase the bad memories from you for you to be fully restored. Mentally.
Twilight's voice responded from my left.
Wait, they have a mental
I turned my
hospital?
head sideways and the whole gang was there. Twilight, Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie.
Oh, the whole
Red,
gang came to meet him. Oh, it's adorable.
She shouted and she ran into my arms.
Careful,
Applejack objected.
he is still recovering.
It's okay. I'm fine.
It's just
As
weird
Dashie
for
and
a
I
human
hugged, I
to
looked
be in
over at
a
Twilight
world
and
full
silently
of
shake
magical
the words,
creatures.
"Does she know?"
And that's what I love.
With my lips. She seemed to get the message as she shook her head while staring at me seriously. I understood. She doesn't need to know. At least not now. Wait a minute. The mental hospital? Am I in a mental hospital?
Yeah.
Does Equestria even have those?
We have one. We are in Camelot.
Canterlot? You took me to Canterlot? What if Princess Celestia finds me?
I already have.
Mm-hmm.
I quickly turned my head to the right, only to be met with the ruler of the sun walking in through the doorway.
Ruler of the sun.
Don't worry.
Right here.
Twilight informed me about your rather fascinating story.
I looked over at Rainbow Dash, whom didn't react. She probably thought Celestia meant my journey here, not the crazy story of what happened before. Celestia continued.
And we realized something. When we thought it was best to separate you two, we were wrong. You are family and we shall never interfere with such love. But we did, and it was wrong of us. That is why I've allowed for you to stay here in Equestria.
Tears of pure joy leaked from my eyelids as I hugged Rainbow even tighter. Thanks, I managed to say, knowing it was not even close to how much I owed them. It was silent for a few minutes before I finally spoke. What happens now?
Oh. 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 Perfect. That was, oh my god, so good. Silver map move. Ubisoft? Wait, what? Maybe I should have been reading this. As well for the awesome IP reviews. Oh.
Dear Rainbow Dash, tomorrow I'm going to proceed with a very dangerous spell to erase what evil still lies inside me. Princess Celestia herself is in charge, so I count on that nothing will go wrong. But I can't help myself to ask, what if it does? So that is why I've been writing down all of my experiences with you into this notebook. If something ever happens to me, take this as proof of that I will always love you, as most of my memories with you will be written down here in the form of a story. I remember how much you used to love bedtime stories. So here's the story about us. Remember, whatever happens tomorrow, I will always love you, no matter what. Don't you ever doubt that. Make me proud. Live a happy life. If nothing does go wrong, maybe we can publish this as a book together. That'd be fun, right? Sincerely, your loving and caring
Reaction.
father. P.S. Princess Celestia also promised me a house, fairly close to where you live, so we can hang out, but you can still maintain your private space, as you've always wanted.
I guess that was the end. Oh my god, I loved this. Like I said, guys, it's not made by the original channel, not made by the original owner, but no, wait, who was it? Yeah, it was not made by Storm FX3, but it was really good. I hope Storm FX3 would be creating part 2 of My Little Dashie soon. And yeah, this is the longest reaction I've ever done. But yeah, like I said, if you guys made it this far, congratulations. I love you guys. You guys are my favorite viewers. And yeah, so like I said, probably if possible, I might do more MLP reactions, maybe some random other reactions, probably a few more live gaming streams. But yeah, I'll probably I'll try to make more videos. And it's just, I just had this problem with stuff. You guys might have known by now. If not, best you don't know. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, without anything else to say, without something. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I did. Yeah. See you guys next video.